bit of swelling. It'll come down. We just get him checked out. We're not in a real hurry with it. He's moving around fine today. We'll see.
Going back to round one, Carter scores the winner, just dead silence. Round two, Cuzzy scores the winner, dead silence. What did it mean to not just have 30 guys celebrating last night, but 20+ thousand?
And not have it be an overtime where they go racing off the ice, right? It was good. That connection between the players and the fans, so important. And for them to be able to participate in it and then have the anticipation what it's going to look at. It was a fun environment. It's nice. I mean, a lot of times, especially when you're an underdog seed, you end up playing more road games. Chances are if you win a series, it's on the road. I think great for us to have it on the road kind of for the first two. You're just kind of cocooned there, right? There's lots of media in there after the room, but then that 15 minutes after that, we're back at the hotel in the meal room, and there's that great connection. But then there's sharing that goes on in last game where you get, and it's nice for the players too, right? They get that feedback and that appreciation. It's a good feeling.
Speaking of good feeling, we've been talking a lot about players who are in the finals, back in the finals, first time in the finals. It's been a long time for you. What have you been able to sit back and think about it, or is it? I mean, you've had some downtime here.
In the last 9 hours.
Yeah. I had plenty of time.
No, it's such a different time and a completely different feeling, except there's still that feeling of it's a different kind of fun now. It's a different level of enjoyment coming to the rink. There's certainly a finality to it coming, right? The season, there's somewhere between 4 and 7. That's what's left. Every kind of bit of success you have as a team kind of builds the joy in the room, but it's been good all year to come into the rink. It's just a little bit more fun right now. I haven't, you know what, George, I haven't thought about it much. It is a while ago. The league was completely different. The 2002 Red Wing team, I think, had 10 Hall of Famers on it. They were pretty good.
It's just, though, you don't get these opportunities very often. I'm talking to Eric Stahlby. He's been there a couple times. You don't get them. You got to.
That's a different way of looking at it. So I'm very mindful of that and can appreciate that. Even you know, to get to a conference final. You know, you look at like the Final Four in basketball, college basketball, what an enormous deal that is. There you go, right? I think it's less played in hockey. That idea of it feels different. I am aware of that. Just maybe the big difference is the perspective of it is it just truly does allow you to enjoy it more, that it's okay on your off days. Even on the, you know, game days is a different kind of enjoyment. It's wired. It's a different, but just to be happy about your day-to-day. We got a recovery day, gonna feed them. Everybody's doing their thing. It's nice to be moving around the room. Everybody's relaxed and worry about tomorrow and be completely present today. Maybe it's just I'm older, way a lot older, but I enjoy it completely differently this time.
Hi, Paul. Quick two-part question, if I may. Number one, bringing the players in today, was that an issue of maintaining the routine? And also, did you notice any kind of difference in the mood of your players now that they're Eastern Conference champions?
You know, we brought them in today. The other reason is I won't bring them in tomorrow. If I'd done it a different way, they would have only gotten 36 hours. Now they'll get 48. So I mean, you're wired when you go to sleep last night. You don't sleep great anyway. We also need to make sure we are where we think we are from a health point of view, and also it really helps us start the recovery. Then we don't leave it to the players and the facilities those players may have at home. We've got the facilities here, so we'll bring them in, get them right, give them some options for tomorrow, and then they get mentally up here, which is exactly what we did after the last series, and then we'll skate the next day, and then we'll start our routine from that going forward, regardless of how long that gap is.
We've talked about their connection kind of all year long, but Sasha and Matthew, like them sitting up here cracking jokes with each other. It's kind of a cool, like, Barkov's the captain. Matthew comes in. He's such a big personality. Kind of go out together to get the trophy after the game. Like, the way that Sasha, I guess, is kind of could be hard, right, for a captain, a big personality to come in. Just how impressed have you been with the way that he is kind of like welcomed? We've talked so much about the way Matthew has come in and ingrained himself with the team, but the way that Sasha, as the captain, has kind of welcomed him to be a huge leader for this team.
Yeah. I wonder sometimes when you're a captain, and there have always been captains who are almost completely different players than everybody else. They're just at a different level. That could be lonely at times, almost isolating. When your talent level is there's a gap between you and everybody else. Who do you talk to when your game's not going right? So Matthew comes in and they're a completely different game, but their talent level in a lot of ways would be equal, right? They both do some incredible things that not a lot of other players. So he has now somebody he can relate to. And you would think from the outside that their personalities are completely different. And I get why you would say that one's quiet, one's a talker. One runs around the ice in terms of, he's involved in every collision, and the other guy plays a very cerebral game. But at the core, they're actually the same people, both incredibly humble, right? They treat their teammates. There's no separation in the value of men in our room between, two very elite, talented men and the rest of the players. So now he has somebody to do this with, right? And Aaron the same way, it's high pick, high skilled. He just plays on the defense. It's the same. Who do those guys get to relate to? Having another one in the room. They've all got different personalities. Those two forwards have way more similarities than you would think. The hockey's different, but after that, one's slightly more verbose than the other. But in terms of humility, I would say they're brothers, more closely related in that than anything else.
As this has all gone on, we've talked about it a little bit, but how impressed have you continued to be with how calm this group is when the stakes are the highest, it feels like, whether it's overtime, late in games, time running down. And I know Matthew's getting a lot of the headlines because he's scored some big game winners lately, but up and down the lineup, Ryan Lomberg scores a massive goal last night at a critical time.
Zach Dalby's goal.
Exactly.
I still come back to that one because there's so many events early in that. Every one of Bob's saves, but there's so many little events where a guy will have a major, major impact on a series, but not necessarily be viewed as the driving force, right? But if he doesn't do it, it's over. I think it strings together. I'll go back to the simplest answer would be we had just been doing this for so darn long that when the environment presents itself, 3 or 4 minutes left to go back to the Washington game. Of course, it was Matthew again. It's a tie game. We got to win that game. And there was pressure on us because they had a bunch of injuries, but they played really hard, right? We've just been in the environment enough that that's kind of a comfortable place for us.
A couple of things, Paul. A couple weeks ago, maybe not even, you talked about that call with Bill, and you said you were good. So I think it was Dave Hyde, I think that asked you where you retired, and you said I was good. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys have coached this game, and you've won more games than like all but 5 of them. Like, are you here to check one more box? Like, was that, how much of that?
For sure. I didn't feel at the time I would have had the energy for a rebuild. Right? I'd gone through 2 of them and they're grinding, right? Between Hartford and then Winnipeg. He's such an interesting guy. He's so very, very bright that I felt, I had a pretty good critique of my own game, strengths and weaknesses. I thought that Bill had a personality that would make me better. And if I was going to win, and I needed to get better, simply because you would look back and say, well, you haven't won, so you got to get better. That the things that he's really, really good at would force me into, in a positive way, would develop me as a coach. I got that sense early on, for sure.
And is there a certain symmetry with this team, with what you all had to go through to get here and what you had to, in playoffs starting in January for you guys and all that? The first team to beat 310-point teams, the first team to beat 350-win teams, probably another one waiting for you in the next round. Is there something to be said that this will be the hardest path the team has ever taken to get to where you want to go?
I don't have the historical grasp of that yet. I haven't looked at it. I would say the interesting thing is if you lined up your perfect season, we would do it the exact opposite. So, be careful what you wish for. Somebody said, like, which team would you rather play? And the answer is whichever one we think we shouldn't, right? So let's see if we can line ourselves up for the Boston Bruins. Why would you ever want to play that team? 135 points. I mean, it was just kind of the way this has gone that right from camp, whether it was injuries or schedule or, all the things that could have broken our team and didn't, that now becomes our strength. We are good at that. They are hard men.
Paul, two for you. Last night, Ekblad welled up when just talking about the path to get here. He's been here forever. Same thing with Barkov. Just how happy are you for them that they've seen this through?
Yes.
They've seen everything with this organization and are at this moment. And the other question I just want to ask you is Montour. I was listening to you on the radio the other day talking about his fitness tests and just what he's like off the ice. How much is that a reason for what we see on the ice right now?
Well, the first part is everybody's in a great mood. But in terms of investment, the people that have invested the most, whether it's time or for Mr. Viola, money, commitment, the people that have invested the most enjoy it the most, and they should. So that from a player's point of view, the guys that were drafted here, that a lot of ups and downs, right? Lots of coaches, lots of GMs, lots of hope, lots of promise, lots that didn't quite get there. And those guys bear that brunt. I know sometimes we look at pro athletes and say, especially if they make an awful lot of money, they feel the pressure of that. They feel the need to perform. Good men do. They're both good men. Feel the pressure of that, and they felt it for a number of years. So, what we're hoping for as we've moved on, and I think you see it, the Sergei, another one, the people who've felt the pressure of the environment, now they get to enjoy it. It's just a little bit sweeter. It's a little bit deeper for them. It's more of an emotional event for them. That's fun to watch. Brandon Montour is unusual in his fitness level. So we had 5 hard days, and we, over the course of the year, practiced our team off of back-to-back games because we didn't like the result, and we needed to develop the ability to go through hard things. So I got a pretty good beat on hard camp, and at day 3, he's still smiling. That pissed me off a little bit, right? At first, kind of like nobody else is smiling, and then you watch him, and that's so I started watching him a little bit closer, right? Is he finishing the drills? Why is he still fine? That guy is. So there would be a couple of things. That one would be he's gifted man, huge tank. He can go a long time. The other part is he works his butt off in the summer to give himself that chance. What was unique, the most unique thing that I saw in the first month was when we tested the first day. Our veterans tested hard, and they don't need to. Right? They're all, your top 5 guys they're in pretty good shape, or they're not top 5 guys. Probably getting paid pretty well. They don't need to go hard on the bike the first day of camp. They're not getting cut. All they need to do is not be in the red zone. What the hell are we doing? Paying that guy that money? He comes in the red zone? They just be happily in the middle. It's a long season, coach. Don't stop in guys got off the bike hard. A bunch of them hit the floor. I went, ooh. These guys are driven.